Hi, everyone. Harry here to talk about the first full day and the most important day of the E Jean Carroll defamation trial 2. Okay, E Jean Carroll, it's really, remember, all that matters is damages here. They don't have to prove that the sexual assault happened. They don't have to prove that he defamed her. She's asked for $10 million in compensatory damages and then an unspecified amount in punitive damages, which are meant to punish and deter. So her testimony is really by far the centerpiece of the trial, and she gave about 90% of it today. Trump's lawyer, Alina Habba, more about her soon, says she has 15 or 20 minutes left. That's usually lawyers speak for an hour and a half. We'll see. But anyway, the direct testimony is finished. Most of the cross has finished, and there may be a brief redirect. So let me talk about. I think a good way to approach this is talk about that testimony, and then talk a little separately about three important figures in the court: Alina Habba, Trump's lawyer, Judge Kaplan, the judge, and Donald Trump, the defendant. Okay, so the testimony. Robbie Kaplan is the one who took her through it, and they had a pretty straightforward presentation of just the terrible damage. And remember, again, this is the first defamation that kind of came out of nowhere. He, as the president of the United States, says, basically that she made it all up and she's not his type anyway. Though in deposition, for a moment, he confuses her with Marla Maples, his ex-wife. Anyway, so she told a story that just, had to do with her world being completely upended when the leader of the free world says nasty stuff about her. She continues to, it's really sort of changed her life for the worse irrevocably. She's now 80 years old. She sleeps with a gun on her bedside because she gets just every day dozens, if not over 100, nasty, insulting, and sometimes outright threatening tweets or messages. So she's afraid of what Trump fan is around the corner. She also argues anyway that her professional life really took a major hit. People stopped wanting her to write. She was the, disparaged one by Trump and damaged goods in that way. So basically it's sort of, two components she's arguing for in compensatory damages: kind of emotional harm, which you can get for defamation, and reputational harm. And then separately talking a little bit about Trump, including his, in a total asinine manner, continuing to defame her like 22 times in the last a couple of days ago, et cetera, in order to give the jury things to think about for punitive damages. So ends on an emotional, fairly high note. I say high, but I mean really bringing home how she's, her world's been turned topsy-turvy, and she's really suffered as a result of being, made a figure of Trump's scorn and an accused liar. Okay, now comes the cross-examination. It's mainly finished. I think what people have largely noticed is it's a really kind of trial lawyer, not 101, 1001 to cross-examine a victim of a sexual assault. You need a very deft touch to impeach credibility. There are things you really could do here to suggest, come on, have you really lost so much in reputation and you're on TV a lot, et cetera? Or, come on, Trump himself hasn't threatened you, or, things like there were points to be scored that weren't scored, and there were points not to be scored that were scored. Every time Alina Habba, Trump's lawyer, had a chance basically to just disparage her, like, she sleeps with a gun by the side of her bed. Do you have a permit for that gun? Come on. So, and then there was a moment that everyone noticed where Habba was just not able to do a very, very basic exercise. You learn this before you're, as a total rookie, the DOJ impeach somebody with a prior statement. You get the statement, you show it to them. There's a total rule book that she just doesn't know. So, there's a way in which some people think she has a certain, this Alina Habba. And, so let's switch to Alina Habba, but closing things out with E Jean Carroll. I don't think the cross-examination succeeded in taking away the overall impression that she really suffered, greatly and deeply as a result of the defamation. Okay, now, but then Habba herself, she's a total Trumpian figure. Well, so first, she's, some people appear to be impressed with her as a kind of somewhat aggressive or charismatic figure. To my mind, she certainly doesn't know her way very well around the courtroom. It's stunning she couldn't, impeach with a prior statement. But more importantly than that, she adopted the wrong tone. She was sort of sneering and snide to E Jean Carroll, and she went crosswise repeatedly with the judge. She did very quick on the trigger mistrial motions and accused him of bias, and either she's just minted in this with the same brand as Trump, or trying to please him, whatever. But motions of the sort she was making would never succeed, and only alienated the judge more. And more importantly, jurors are very attuned, in my experience, to judge's reaction, and it was quite clear that the judge had little patience with her, and a couple times was tough on her. Like, if a judge upbraids you before a jury, it's a terrible moment, and he just, sit down, and you're not, you don't, we're not raising this again. There were times when he was pretty tough. So Habba, to my mind, aggressive, and maybe Trump likes that, but, went again and again into areas that she shouldn't, which, trying to insinuate them. And that's just bad, because, you want, in a good cross-examination, you want it short, crisp, hard, really, score like 12 points and get out of there. And it was terrible rhythm, because she kept going in improper places, and there were big pauses and sidebars while they decided it, etc. So she seemed to be not the lawyer for the job. I'll put it that way. Now, the judge, Kaplan. You can contrast this somewhat with Engoron from last week, and in part it has to do with federal rules versus state. But he had a close to iron fist. He was tough on Trump and on Habba. He at one point basically said, "You don't have to be here. I can kick you out." And Trump's, in a puerile third grade way, says, "I wish you would." Whatever, that is supposed to mean. But he showed a pretty firm hand. And there's an important point here. He could show a firm hand because they had decided in advance what's kosher and what's not. I've talked about this in different contexts. For example, the advice of counsel effort that Trump might make in the January 6th trial. You want it set in advance, so when a Trump lawyer or Trump himself does, tries to introduce it, you can slam down, "No, we're not doing that. We've already decided it." So anyway, he showed pretty firm command. He's been, here's a little Talking Feds insider point. I actually was the guy, I was barely shaving, but I vetted him for his position in the mid-90s when I was with the Clinton Justice Department. I had to talk to everyone in town, go through him. And so, I got to know him and his reputation, and he's got a firm hand. So anyway, he came off pretty well, and I'd say he contrasted favorably for him with Engoron from last week. He kept things in hand, and the main reason he was able is because they'd drawn the lines in advance. And that brings us to the 45th president of the United States, who was a spectacular jackass in court today. He did, first these dramatic stage whispers with his lawyers where he says in an audible way, this is just a setup, or it's not true, as if somehow he's telling them this for the first time. It's just really, I think a jury sees this. I don't know. Certainly litigants do. It's a low class move for one, the guy back there, or at times he's shaking his head like this as testimony's coming in. There are some people who do that in court, and there's a very good reason why good lawyers and well instructed parties never do it. You look like shit, and you should look like shit. And there's a sharper impropriety here that I think matters a lot, because he's talked about wanting to testify. If he testifies, it would be on Monday. I don't think he wants to testify. We'll see. It's, as I've said, axiom number one is he can't in a criminal trial. This is different. Civil trial, his not testifying could be held against him. But even so, to me, some of this all set up, etc., was reminiscent a little bit of O.J. Simpson and the glove, a way of testifying without being subject to cross-examination. So that might have been part what was going on. Of course, what he's testifying about is completely off the table, and Kaplan has made it clear. It's no longer an issue. It's already been determined. He assaulted her and he lied about it. So the things he's trying to say now, and repeatedly, are just basically recaps of the original defamation, but that's been decided. But he was spectacularly disrespectful to everyone in a way I think jurors are really sensitive to. He, sometimes out of the presence of the jury, but not always. He shows contempt for the judge. He shows contempt for the prosecution. Just a bad idea. Not the prosecution, the plaintiff's side, excuse me, shaking his head. And showed contempt, the asinine moron, for the jury. Everybody in a trial, judges, everyone, stand when the jury comes in, and then stand up till the jury files out before leaving. And Trump, at the end of the testimony of the day, just stood up and strode out of there before the jury did. I guarantee you it's something they noticed and registered. Everyone, even the judge, is respecting them. You're in a jury, and all of a sudden you're treated with real reverence, as you should be. You're doing this really important job. You're sacrificing your time and the like. And he just, really thumbed his nose at them. So, I will say, both as to him and Habba, he's got a bad hand. It's been found already to have committed defamation. It's about the amount of damages. But there are some things you could do to try to score some points. And moreover, I don't think they would even take away from his larger political agenda. So, it's just the kind of guy he is constitutionally. He's got to be a total disrespecting jerk, third grade bully, jackass. And that's who Trump surely was today. Okay, so tomorrow we'll finish up with E Jean Carroll's testimony, after which there'll be a redirect. Then the same expert who testified the Moss Freeman trial, and we'll talk about reputational harm to E Jean Carroll. And I don't know if there's much left after that. And then the question is, what kind of case will the defense put on, and will Trump testify? I don't think it's as obvious as in a criminal case, but for what it's worth, my money is on his not doing it. But he might well. He said he's going to, for example, and that means, well, nothing, because he said it before. But so we'll see what I have to say. And then just something to keep your eye on. She's asked for $10 million in compensatory damages, and this would be one place they could have scored some points. Maybe it shouldn't be so much, and she's already been compensated $50 million, I think, in the other case, etc. But this to me could really be going toward a verdict where the punitive damages are 5, 10, 15 times the amount that the compensatory damages are. And that's usually when a court of appeals, and remember we're in the federal system, this would be the Second Circuit, steps in and strikes it down as being too much, as being the product of prejudice, etc. Here, on the other hand, we're talking about, as E Jean Carroll lawyer is very quick to remind the jury, a billionaire who is perfectly incorrigible. So what's it going to take? It's a fair question. What's it going to take to make him stop and to punish him for what he's done? And if that happens to be 20, 30 times compensatory damages, maybe it holds up. But that, I think, could well be an issue that arises on appeal, that punitive damages could be, outsized relative to compensatory. Anyway, so that's something to keep your eye on. If Trump testifies, I probably would go till Monday. If not, tomorrow could in fact be the last day, and then of course there'd be closing arguments, jury deliberation, and the like. But it's going quite poorly for Trump. Fine for Carroll. Not, I think she really did pretty well today. But it's more how he almost jubilantly, willingly at least, undermines his own legal position and just is such an unattractive jerk for all to see, including the jury that will be deciding this part of his fate. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.